Hey guys, it's Troy from ExtractCraft. I'm here just to do a quick video to kind of introduce you to the source. For those of you that have just purchased it, thank you very, very much. For those of you that already have it, very much appreciated. We at ExtractCraft really love our customers and really appreciate everything you contribute to our community. This video, I'm going to show you the parts of the machine, kind of give some advice on how to get through the initial learning curve and hopefully how to avoid some frustration with some of the kind of common errors we see quite often with new users. First and foremost, definitely review the user manual very well. It should be the first thing you do before you use it. Read the warnings, understand the machine, understand the operation. Very, very useful to avoid any frustrations to start with. Also, for those of you that aren't already part of it, please join the user groups on Facebook. Very great communities. We keep a very tight rein on it so that a lot of the nonsense that happens on the internet does not happen in our groups. So please join ExtractCraft user group on Facebook and or the ExtractCraft culinary and aroma arts group. Both of them very great groups. You'll get a lot of use and great resource if you have questions or frustrations there. The altitude setting is very, very important. There's something we see repeatedly, people kind of misunderstanding. It's hard to explain. There's a yellow sheet that comes inside of the collector that explains how to do it step by step. Those instructions need to be followed in order, and every step needs to be accomplished. So start at the top, work all the way to the bottom. No matter where you are, go ahead and set it the first time when you get the machine. Once you set it, it'll be the default and it'll stay at that setting until you change it again. So I'm just going to demonstrate how to do it properly here. You've got to push and hold this button for a total of 10 seconds. Not just a count of 10, but a full 10 seconds. Then it's going to flash back at us 10 times. When it does that, we're going to push the button one time for every 1,000 feet of our elevation. So if you're at sea level, you don't touch it. If you're at 1,000 feet, you push once, and so forth. We're at 5,000 feet here, so I'm going to set it for 5,000 feet. So push and hold it in. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000. Let go, 10 fast blinks. When those blinks stop, we're going to hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and wait. It'll repeat back to us how many times we pushed it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's going to stop. Reset. Now the elevation's set. Everybody, please make sure you do that procedure before you use the machine. It'll save you a lot of frustration. Then the other thing to understand is exactly what the pieces of the machine are and how they work. This is the lower seal. This is the base plate. The lower seal fits over the base plate very loosely. It's made that way so you can remove it and clean it. You can also clean the base plate, and also you can adjust where the collector is going to sit on. So you can notice in here there's a little indentation around the bottom. That's where the collector is actually going to sit in to get a good vacuum. So when you take the collector, you're going to make sure it sits down in there, press it, make sure it's not hung up on the lip of the seal, make sure it's set in there very nicely. The cup has a fill line, which you may or may not be able to see on here. But if you're going to use turbo mode, you definitely don't want to fill it up anywhere above that line because it'll boil over. So then the cup goes in. If the cup seems to be having problems with the steel inside the glass, you can use this bottom rubber seal to move it around a bit, to make sure it's centered, to make sure it's sat well, and make sure everything's proportioned very nicely. Then, once you close it, you're going to want to put the lid on. And the lid has two sides. It has the glass side, where everything inside this rim is glass, And then on the inside, there's actually a lip that has a rubber seal. This rubber seal needs to go down. So you'll never have glass on glass. If you hear glass on glass like that, you've got it upside down. It needs to be a nice soft rubber seal. Never glass on glass, only rubber on glass. That's going to be your top seal. Those are the pieces. This is what it's going to look like once you're ready to go. Okay, so now you're ready to go. You've got all the pieces set together. Now there's a couple of things that you want to definitely make sure of. After we've made sure everything's setting properly, you're going to want to make sure that this screw is all the way to the right. Turn it to the left to open the vacuum, turn it to the right to close it. So in order for the vacuum area of the unit to maintain suction and maintain vacuum, this needs to be all the way to the right. Never ever remove this screw. When you're releasing the vacuum, all you've got to do is turn it about 4 full turns. It'll open the vacuum release inside. You just have to wait. It might take a minute or two, but it's okay. If you remove this all the way, putting it back in is very difficult and you may cross thread it. If you cross thread this, putting it back in, it won't close all the way and you definitely won't be able to get a seal. So never remove this. So before you start it, turn it all the way to the right. Make sure it's closed properly, not cross threaded. Everything's set. Now we're ready to go. So now we've got the altitude set properly and we've got everything situated properly. We've got it closed. We're ready to start. How do we start the machine? We start the machine in one of the 2 modes that we have. We have normal mode and we have turbo mode. Both modes work very well. Both modes work at the 100-105 degree range during normal operations while there's still ethanol in there to boil. The difference is the amount of energy we pump in and the speed at which it works. If you're going to use normal mode, it's going to take longer, but the machine will be at rest for much longer periods of time, meaning the heater won't have to work as hard and also the vacuum pumps won't work as hard. Now if you're trying to get it done a little faster, you're going to need to use turbo mode. Turbo mode is going to work about twice as fast. For these new larger cups, you're talking about maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. For the original cups, about 2 hours to get through it. On normal mode, it's going to take twice as long, take about maybe 4 hours, give or take, depending on your altitude and kind of pressure systems and such. It may vary a little bit in time, but those are all within range. So to start on normal, very easy. We just have to push it one time, and it starts. Very easy. Then push it one time to turn it off. On turbo mode, we have to hold it in for at least a full 3 seconds. A lot of people count too fast, so maybe use 4 seconds as a guide. And we're going to push it, hold it in for 4 seconds, and then when we release, we'll see 2 slow flashes. Those 2 slow flashes are the only indication that you're starting the unit on turbo mode. Nowhere else will you be able to see it. So when you start the machine, you have to pay attention to whether you're starting it in turbo mode or normal mode. So this is how we start in turbo mode. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. 2 slow flashes, that's turbo mode. As soon as it goes, that lid should be sucked down tight. If it's not, you can give it a little bit of pressure. If you give it a little bit of pressure and it still doesn't work, that indicates that either the top seal's not seated properly, the bottom seal's not seated properly, you have this vacuum relief not closed, or it's cross-threaded. A couple other things can also cause some problems. If there happens to be some dirt or something gummy or an obstruction on the seal or on the glass rim, then that's going to cause a problem. Also, if there's damage to the glass, substantial chip on the flat edge of the glass, that's going to cause it to have a trouble pulling full vacuum as well. But what should happen is that once you start it, like you heard the vacuum pumps come on, it should run for maybe 2 minutes, and then the vacuum pump will turn off, and it'll sound kind of like this. Now what's going to happen, once it's running, this light is going to flash 1 time every 10 seconds. That's going to tell you that this machine is running. If the light does not flash and stays solid the whole time, just like it is now, that means it's plugged in and the unit is on, but it's not in process. So you can use that to tell very easily. Now that we've got it all running properly, there's a few things to kind of address that people either misconstrue, misunderstand, or kind of don't pay attention to when they first start using the machine. One of the big problems that we have and we see is people misunderstanding the solvent that they need to use. What needs to be used is at least 95% ethanol. You can even use 100% ethanol if you'd like. It's a little more expensive, works great. So 95% or better ethanol. Just because it's called Everclear or grain alcohol doesn't mean that it's 95%. So you need to check the label very carefully to understand that it's 95% alcohol or better. Not proof, percent. 95% alcohol, ethanol, food grade ethanol or better. Next, this machine has a safety cutoff of 120 minutes. It's very important to keep that in mind. The machine will not operate longer than 120 minutes. This green light might be on, but it won't be flashing. So remember, if it goes over 120 minutes, the machine will shut off automatically. If you want to extend that 120 minutes, which may well often be the case because you might have started with cold liquid in the beginning, which will extend how long it takes, or you may have filled it up a bit more, or you're running on normal mode. So quite often, especially with this bigger cup, it might take longer than 2 hours. So if you need to extend it, all you have to do is when it's running, all you got to do is turn it off and then turn it right back on again. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Back on turbo mode, and then it just resets to another 120 minutes, which is a good thing to do. The next problem that we see sometimes is people don't understand that the 120 minute safety cutoff is not a measure of production performance. When this runs for one cycle of 120 minutes, it's only for safety. That doesn't mean that everything in the larger cup should be gone in 2 hours. What it means is this machine has a safety cutoff of 120 minutes. So if it looks like you're going to go over that 2 hour limit and there's still liquid to be processed in the cup, what you need to do while it's running is start and stop it to reset the 120 minutes. So while it's running, all you have to do is push it once to turn it off, start it again, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. So that's how you extend the 120 minutes. It's pretty easy. Now, as opposed to just extending the 120 minutes, sometimes people will stop the machine, take the lid off, check it, put the lid back on, and restart the machine. That you can't do. Once you introduce normal pressure atmosphere inside the machine, the temperature of the stuff in the cup will spike and it'll throw all of the performance out of equilibrium. So if you stop the machine for any longer than just extending the 120 minute period, then you must let the entire machine cool down and the contents of the machine cool down before you start it again. The reason why is if you don't, you definitely can experience a very vigorous, explosive boiling on the inside that'll send your liquid all over the collector. It'll splatter and it'll cause a mess. And you don't want that, so don't do it. If you stop the machine and open it or stop it for any appreciable amount of time, you must let it completely cool before restarting it. Another thing that sometimes people have problems with that extend their production time is what we call redrip. Sometimes if the machine isn't set perfectly flat so that some of the angles that we build into the machine to counter redrip take effect, you kind of have to manipulate a little yourself. So what happens with re-drip, when the condensation on the lid, what's supposed to happen is those drips roll to the side and then drip down and collect in the collector. Sometimes if it's not flat and the angles that we built in are countered by the angles of the counter or the floor or whatever, the drips that are supposed to go to the side will actually go back into the cup. That's what we call re-drip. If that happens, it's going to extend your production time quite significantly because that ethanol has to be reprocessed again. So you definitely want to make sure that the drips that are forming on the lid are rolling to the back or side before they're falling down and being collected. Another thing that takes people by surprise sometimes is when emptying the collector, when the process is finished, you end up spilling a lot of ethanol and wasting it on the floor. Not only is it wasteful, it can be very dangerous because remember, this ethanol, highly flammable. You don't want it near any flames. You don't want it near any ignition source. You must be very careful with the ethanol. It's very flammable. Luckily not explosive, but be careful. So by the time this large cup finishes, you're going to have quite a bit of alcohol in this collector. In fact, it'll go most of the way up the steel ring. What happens when you try to empty it is it'll flow down through the middle before it'll flow out the top. So what you need to do with the collectors, when you empty this, you need to empty it over a large bowl. So the initial part that goes down the middle and then later out the top gets collected in the bowl. From the bowl, use a funnel and put it into whatever container you're going to save the ethanol in. Very important to be safe with the ethanol in the collector. Don't spill it. Be careful. Another thing that causes new users some surprise and kind of some misunderstanding of how the machine works is at the end of the process there'll be ethanol around the inside of the seal or collected on the base plate. This is very normal. As long as it's the amount that you just kind of are going to wipe away, it's normal. Because inside the closed vacuum chamber, the gas and vapor can go anywhere. And as you can see, they can definitely set down. Once this is down, you can see they can go all the way down to the base plate. So some vapor may collect here. A couple things you can do to limit that is make sure the machine's kept cool during the entire process. And the other thing is, when the process is finished, do not leave it closed to cool. What happens then is it will really condense on the base plate and you'll get a lot more accumulation down there than you would if you crack it open or you disassemble it and take everything out. But if you're not going to disassemble it and take everything out at that time, you need to take the top off and let the atmosphere in so that the condensation won't happen on the base plate. Thank you very much, everybody that's already either part of the ExtractCraft family or is thinking about joining. We've got a great community, great product, great people. If you have any questions, you can contact us directly at info@extractcraft.com. If you'd like to speak with the community of users, that great user group on Facebook, ExtractCraft user group, is wonderful. So please join us. Let us know if you have any questions. We're always here to help. Have a great day.